Imagine being at the worst moment of your life, with two people you love at risk and having to choose between them. A man faced with an impossible decision: save his wife or his soon-to-be-born child. And when he can't make that decision, a nurse appears and does something that changes everything. What will his choice be? Stay until the end and discover how love and courage can transform a situation of extreme pain. Before we start, subscribe to the channel and leave a like so you don't miss any exciting stories like this. Let's get started. After receiving the most devastating news of his life, Lucas Almeida was faced with an impossible choice. During unexpected complications with his wife's birth, he had to decide who should be saved, his wife or his soon-to-be-born child. As he fell to his knees, overcome by pain, a nurse touched his shoulder, and her words helped him make the decision. Carla was anxious and a little nervous that day as she prepared dinner for her and her husband. She wanted everything to be perfect, with a special dish on the table. There were glasses and a bottle of wine ready to be opened. When Lucas finally arrived home after work, Carla ran to hug him. She wrapped him in a tight hug and kissed him intensely, as if it were the first. That warm welcome took him by surprise. Before Lucas could question anything, Carla led him to the dinner table, which was elegantly decorated and featured a dish fresh from the oven. Confused, Lucas started talking about the difficult week he had and asked if he had forgotten any special dates, apologizing. But Carla calmed him down, explaining that she wanted to do something special that night. Lucas looked suspicious, but when he saw Carla's happiness, he decided not to question it. They sat down, and Lucas opened the bottle of wine. When he went to serve Carla's glass, she stopped him. "Don't you want to toast, my love?" he asked, surprised. Carla replied that from that night onwards, she would no longer be able to drink for a long time. Lucas looked at her with a confused expression until Carla took his hands and placed them on her belly. Lucas's gaze immediately widened. "We're expecting a baby," Carla announced. Her eyes were moist with emotion, and she was finally able to reveal the big news. Lucas didn't know how to react, but his face quickly lit up with a wide smile that crossed his face. He got up from the table and hugged Carla with all the strength he had. "I'm the happiest man in the world," he said repeatedly as he kissed her. Carla had kept the secret all day and was relieved by his reaction. But deep down, Lucas didn't feel the same happiness. His mind was filled with uncertainty and fear. He didn't feel prepared to be a father. That feeling consumed him, and the need to hide his insecurities made everything even more difficult. Trying not to seem rude, Lucas tried to talk to Carla to better understand how it had happened. Carla, beaming, talked non-stop about plans to accommodate the baby. Lucas tried to keep up, but with each word he felt more overwhelmed. He didn't want to ruin her happiness, so he kept smiling, agreeing with everything she said. Later, while Carla fell soundly asleep after dinner, Lucas couldn't sleep for even a moment. His mind was in a whirlwind. He was a young man, just 27 years old, full of ambitions and a job in marketing that demanded every bit of his energy. He had an intermediate position in the company and knew he could achieve more as long as he continued to dedicate himself. He was focused on his career, but now a child was in the middle of it all. He wasn't prepared, and Carla knew it. Carla and Lucas met at a university party. They talked for hours and soon realized how much they had in common. They started going out together and were soon in a serious relationship. Before graduation, Lucas took Carla to dinner and asked her to marry him. She already knew he was the man of her life and accepted emotionally. During the proposal, Lucas took the opportunity to reinforce that his career and Carla were his greatest passions, and that they would travel the world while they were young and did not have family responsibilities. Carla always wanted to be a mother, but at that time she agreed to wait a little longer. They had their whole lives ahead of them. However, Carla became pregnant, and even she didn't know how it happened, as they always took the necessary precautions. Now, there was no going back. Lucas felt the weight of anguish, But he knew he couldn't let his insecurities show to Carla. She was happy, and he didn't want to ruin that moment. Despite the doubt in his heart, he knew he loved her deeply and couldn't make her sad. Fear consumed him, but Lucas knew he needed to find someone to vent to. Her best friend, Sarah, has always been a good listener. Sitting in a bar, Lucas told Sarah about his uncertainties regarding fatherhood. He spoke about the negative examples he had from his own father, the fear of finances, the lack of time and patience needed to raise a child. "I just don't want to make the same mistakes, Sarah. I don't want to be an absent or cold father, like my father was," he said, desperate. Sarah tried to calm him down, saying that parenthood would be a daily learning experience. "But Lucas, you won't be alone. Carla is with you by your side." She reminded him that now he had no choice. The baby was on the way, and Carla was happy and waiting for him. Sarah's support made Lucas feel calmer. He was determined to learn, to try, and to love his son. In the following days, Lucas tried to get used to the idea of being a father. Carla continued her pregnancy normally, making routine medical appointments, and everything seemed fine. But during a consultation, reality turned upside down. The doctor, with a serious expression, explained that Carla was at risk of premature birth. Lucas's heart sank when he saw his wife crying. He tried to comfort her, saying everything would be fine, but deep down he was terrified that something really bad would happen. Back home, Carla broke the silence and asked Lucas for a promise. Under any circumstances, he must choose to save the baby. Lucas was in shock. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. "No, that won't happen. I won't let it. I will do whatever is necessary to save you and the baby. But if I have to choose, it will always be you, Carla. I can't lose you," he replied, anguished. Carla, however, did not accept his answer. He stared at Lucas and said, "I love my son more than anything. If you choose me over our son, I can't live with that." The request was clear, and Lucas felt as if his world had fallen apart. He knew that even without wanting to, he would have to make the most difficult choice of his life. It was at the beginning of the 7th month of pregnancy that Carla began to feel severe pain. Something was wrong, and Lucas's fear came true. He was in the hospital corridor, distressed, not knowing what to do. When the doctor appeared, what he heard almost made him faint. "We need to perform urgent and risky surgery. The situation of your wife and baby is serious. The only option is a cesarean section, but Carla's chances of surviving are slim. You need to decide, Lucas. We can't wait any longer." The pressure and pain suffocated him. How do you choose between saving your wife or your child? Desperation took over him, but in a moment of clarity, he remembered Carla's words. She always put the baby's life first. Lucas knew what he needed to do. "Save the baby," he said, his voice breaking. After the decision, Lucas could no longer move. His mind was in a whirlwind, but he knew there was no other way forward. When the doctor finally returned, he brought good news. The baby was fine, but Carla was still fighting for her life. Lucas found himself faced with a miracle. His daughter was alive. And after a harrowing time, Lucas finally entered Carla's room. She was alive, and with tears in his eyes, he said, "Thank you for choosing our son, Lucas." As she smiled, he knew he had made the right decision. And when he hugged her, he felt the relief that only love could provide. As time passed, Lucas and Carla adjusted to their new life with their daughter, and he knew he was finally ready to be the father he always wanted to be. If you liked this story, like and share. I'm sure the next video will thrill you too.